There's a big issue that needs to be addressed in the personal finance community, and I personally reached the climax of this issue about a month ago. Now, what happened was about 3 months ago, I decided to take the risk and quit my job because I wanted to bring more freedom, options, and flexibility in my life. In the last 3 months have been amazing. I've had more freedom and options and flexibility than I have ever had. But despite all this, I still didn't feel like I made it. I was saying to myself, okay, I'm here now. Now, once I get to this future destination, then I'll have made it. And I realized that I had fallen into this trap that is a result of what is often preached in the personal finance community. And it's called the destination trap. And the destination trap is putting off the present, thinking that once you reach a future destination, you can start living. It's this idea of thinking that once I reach retirement, I'll travel the world. Once I have $1 million, I'll start enjoying myself. Once I reach this future destination, I'll start living. We often try to seek happiness through money, but the problem with this way of thinking is it relies on the idea of once I reach this future destination, things will get better. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, that destination doesn't exist. So I stopped seeking happiness through money because I don't want to fall into this destination trap. And in this video, I want to inspire you to not fall into this destination trap either and give you 10 reasons to avoid the destination trap. Reason number 1, happily ever after doesn't exist. And Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. Have you ever wondered what happened afterwards? I mean, did their marriage go well? Did they have any kids? Did they get into any financial trouble? Nothing ever ends, ladies and gentlemen. There's no such thing as happily ever after. Happily ever after basically means I don't want to write anymore. Let's just stop here. Life is just one day after the other after the other. And when it comes to money, we often look at this holy grail of $1 million. And once we reach that amount, happily ever after. But this is just a destination trap because life isn't ever going to stop. Once you reach $1 million, you don't just get to this happily ever after moment. You know, there's no such thing as an ending. The only true ending to life is when you're in the ground, but you shouldn't dedicate your life to that moment because until then, there's no happily ever after. Reason number 2, the more money you have, the less you feel you have. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not a rich person, but at least for now, I don't have to worry about money. But the richest I've ever felt in my life was not when I saved $50,000. It was when I saved $10,000. And I remember seeing 5 digits on my bank account statement thinking that I can recover from pretty much anything that life throws at me. But the ironic thing about money is when you start to accumulate more, your idea of a lot changes. When you're 8, $10 is a lot. When you get your first job, $500 is a lot. When you're an adult, $100,000 is a lot. You can't seek happiness through a specific amount of money because it's just a destination trap. And once you reach one destination, you're immediately try to go to the next destination. And it's never ending because there's no limit to how much money you can have. And this way of thinking keeps you forever living in the future. Reason number 3, more money can make you less content. I'll never forget reaching a huge milestone in my savings when I had saved $50,000. And it was a really weird feeling because that was more money than I had ever had. And it was more money than most people will probably ever have at one point in their life. And it left me feeling a little empty inside because I realized that money was no longer holding me back, but I was holding myself back because of money. Often in the personal finance community, we preach this message. Save money, and then what? Invest the money. There's a profit, use that money to make more money. Bigger profit, use that money to make more money. There's nothing wrong with the desire to make money, but using money to forever create more money is just a destination trap. It's saying that I'll be content once I reach this amount of money. But I think that the more money you have in some ways, the further you get away from the destination. And once I had that conversation with myself, I said, what is the point of this money if I'm not using it to enrich my life? And I started to use it to enrich my life instead of seeking this future destination. Reason number 4, there's no such thing as a problemless life. We often view and use money as a tool to solve problems, and in a lot of ways, money does solve problems, and it can make your life better if you use it correctly. But there's no such thing as a problemless life. You're always going to have problems, and money is not going to solve every single problem. The funny thing about life is that once you solve one set of problems, life gives you a whole new set of problems. And thinking that money will be the answer to all your problems is the destination trap, because it makes you think that there's a certain amount of money. Well, you'll just stop having problems. And what's going to happen is you'll get $10,000, still problems, $100,000. Still problems, $1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people in this world with more than $100 billion, and they still have problems. You're going to have problems for as long as you live, money or no money. Reason number 5, sadness is a part of life. We've all seen those videos of very happy people who live very happy lives. Hi guys, it's 4 a.m. I just finished my morning jog and now I'm headed off to the gym. I'm just so happy today and I wake up happy every single day. Life is just great. No matter who you are, once the camera turns off, people start to act a little bit differently. This isn't real. From the words of Imagine Dragons, it's okay to be not okay. It's hard to separate fact from fiction nowadays, but any narrative that portrays a life of just happiness is fiction. Sadness is just a part of life, just as much as happiness is a part of life. You can't truly enjoy a sunny day without a couple rainy days. And thinking that if you accumulate a bunch of money, then you'll never be sad again, that is just a destination trap, because you're going to live with sadness your whole life, but it's okay to feel sad sometimes. So don't fall for that destination trap. Reason number 6, tomorrow will never be better unless you live for today. About a month ago, I reached this climax and I realized that I had fallen into this destination trap. Granted, the last 3 months has just been amazing. But I knew that I could make it better, and I knew and I realized that I need to start taking freedom a little bit more seriously. So instead of falling for this destination trap, I said to myself, I have the time, I have the money, and so I opened up Google Flights and I bought a ticket to go to Ecuador. I needed to embrace freedom, and now I feel extremely refreshed and motivated to continue on this journey, and that's why I decided to go to Ecuador, because if you don't do it today, you're probably not going to do it tomorrow. And tomorrow is a destination that doesn't exist. Reason number 7, privilege is useless if you don't recognize it. When you travel the world and experience different countries and cultures, you see that privilege exists in many forms. But there's one type of privilege that doesn't exist everywhere, and that's economic privilege. When I was riding buses through Ecuador, we would go through these very remote areas where for miles and miles and miles, all you would see was banana plantations. And for the people who live in that area, you realize that the only economic opportunity is working in a banana plantation. And when bananas are 55, 60 cents a pound, there's a reason for that. They're not paying them that much. And the world isn't fair, and I don't know how to fix the world's problems. But when you have a privilege, an economic privilege, you have to recognize it. Because if you don't recognize it, it's a destination trap that will make you think that you don't have any options. And privilege is useless if you don't recognize it. Reason number 8, you never really figure it out. In my life, I find myself learning lessons, forgetting the lesson, and then relearning the lesson over and over and over. And that's part of what it means to be a human. When I was a kid, I remember thinking that my parents were perfect and had it all figured out, until I became an adult and I realized that they were just trying to figure out life too. And when we seek happiness through money, it's a destination trap, because it makes you feel like once you reach this certain amount of money that you'll have it figured out. But happiness isn't compulsory. Sadness is just a part of life, and you'll never really figure it out. And I think it's important to accept that. Reason number 9, enough is the real way to seek happiness. I've tried to preach this idea of enough in a lot of my videos because I think that you'll never have enough until you define enough. And I think on a personal finance journey, it's very important to establish this early on, because as you start to have more money, then it's harder to know what enough is. And seeking happiness through an abundance of money is a destination trap because it keeps you forever living in the future. There's a quote that goes, "Money won't make you happy, but everyone wants to find out for themselves." When you seek happiness through enough, you'll reach it long before an abundance of money. We wouldn't have people with hundreds of billions of dollars if there was a specific amount of money that was enough. It's not a destination, it's a feeling. Reason number 10, money doesn't bring happiness. It's what you do with it. I could have stayed at my job and done this at the same time and be making a lot more money than I am right now, but I came to realize that money doesn't bring happiness. It's what you do with it that brings happiness. So I stopped seeking happiness through money because money doesn't bring happiness. Money brings freedom, options, and flexibility, and it's up to you to use those tools to bring happiness in your life. Things won't happen unless you start taking steps today. The biggest risk in life is not doing what you want on the bet that you can buy yourself the freedom to do it later. Don't fall for the destination trap, because that future destination doesn't exist. And with that, muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día, nos vemos, chico.